The Last Ronin Part 2, First to Fall. This is a really good read. Another amazing addition to the story. It, God, going through it, I was like, okay. I know, you get the cover right here. It's like, First to Fall is the title. It's like, I think we all knew going into it, was like, this was going to be watching Raphael die. Obviously, I'm going to be going through the whole thing. There will be spoilers throughout this. That's just how it's going to be. So, it was great. It was interesting to watch because I'm like, I'm going through it, and I love. First off, this one I might like more than the first issue. I love the first issue because going through it is like the whole mystery of like who the f is the turtle, what's about to happen here, what's going on with the world as a whole. But this one, once we're starting to get into it, it's just the story of it, and it's like, oh, this is really interesting. And they're jumping back and forth through time. They do the classic. They do like old school. They do like manga flashback style where it's black and white, and we get classic comic style Ninja Turtles. I love that. That was amazing. So just they're going back and forth. The ending blew my mind because they're going through the story, and I'm like, we see what happens with Raph, and I'll probably save that for last because I think that's kind of the crux of this specific issue. But we have the flashbacks of Mikey, like after everything that happened. We know that there was an explosion, and that's how April ended up losing an arm and a leg. I would assume that was when things really started to kick off. The explosion, of course, was after Raph passes away. So then they have the explosion that takes out April, and then of course at the very end of this issue, the tease for the next issue is we see how Leo and Casey end up dying. So it's like, well, that sucks. I would assume obviously Master Splinter dies in there somewhere. I'm curious if he's gonna live on, as far as the flashbacks are concerned, if he will live until like the final issue, flashback wise, and if Master Splinter ends up being like the last person that Michelangelo actually ends up seeing die. That would be very interesting because he's the first one that we see truly injured. But of course, Raph dies before him. The tease for the next issue is Leo and Casey. Obviously, we know that Donatello at some point passes away as well. And I think it would just be very interesting if, despite how they started this flashback, where it's like the first thing is like, holy crap, they ambushed us and Master Splinter's the one who's injured. If he ends up being the one to survive past everyone else, save for Mikey and April, of course. And I think that would be very interesting if it just came down to those two. That would be heartbreaking to read, but I think it would be very entertaining. Story-wise, I think that would be an amazing way to do it, and we'll just have to see how things play out. It's all going to be tragic because I love the story, but I'm like, the last thing I really want to see is like how all the Ninja Turtles die. But I love this story. The ending, though, that really shocked me. They have, it's still Casey. So, Casey's daughter, Casey and April's daughter. She's talking with Mikey, and they're going back and forth, and she's like, I heard all these stories about you guys and stuff like that, and, like, we're going to help you no matter what. And so, Mikey laughs and is like, I'm trying to figure out if you're more like your dad or your mom. And then they cut to April, and she opens the safe, and she takes out the Fugitoid's head. And I was like, huh. Like, it just kind of made me pause at the end, and I'm just like, what in the world does that mean? Like, what are they going to do with the Fugitoid? So there are a million questions now, because I'm just like, I don't understand what in the world is going to happen, especially considering he's been locked up. So I do have to wonder, is it truly going to be like the dude's brain, his consciousness has just been like powered down for a long time, and it's like, until, it's kind of thing where it's like, we have this kind of be all end all item, but there wasn't really a hope to use it. And then Michelangelo comes back and is like, okay, I have faith now that we have someone that can truly make a difference here. Time to pull out, the ace in the hole. So I'm excited for whatever they're going to end up doing with the Fugitoid. That really shocked me, though. I was like, okay, they're showing April. And then it was just like, boom, Fugitoid's head in her hands. And I was like, okay, I don't know how that's going to end up panning out, but I'm excited to see it. So I love the ending. Great cliffhanger ending, because I'm just like, didn't see that one coming. I don't know who to expect, if I'm being totally honest. It's just like, with it being so far ahead in the future, you never know what to expect. They kind of explain the mechanics of the city now. They're at rock bottom, and below that is the underground, which is the resistance. So, we'll probably see some other levels. I would assume we saw, the very top, with him going to attack the Foot Clan. So we've seen the top. We've seen, a tiny bit of the bottom. Technically, we saw him like on the streets a little bit. So we'll probably get a little bit of all the different tiers, and that should be interesting to see. So I'm excited for that. But this issue was good. It was great. And then, of course, there's the sad part. And I was reading the stuff with Raph. And so we knew it was gonna happen. We knew, you see the title, the whole thing is the first to fall, and of course it's gonna be Raph, because if there is any person that will go head first in the battle, it's Raphael, and so we knew that was gonna happen, and it was interesting the way it happened, because I thought for sure, obviously we're just going off of random theories and thinking like, how could it play out and this and that. Even before it came out, I was like, okay, maybe they end up, in this giant battle, and he just happens to be the first to fall. Because I didn't even think about the pacing of it and how it might play out. So also another grand question outside of the Fugitoy thing: why did they break the truce? That's a big deal. That's like, it just seems like poof, out of nowhere we broke the deal and that was it. So there's got to be some real answer there. And it could just be the fact that they just decided to do it, but I feel like there's something extra. So, and I could be wrong. It could just be me throwing stuff out there. I don't know too much about the official like IDW line of comics, but the little ups and downs that I do know, it's especially considering the truce aspect of it all. It's just like, it's an interesting question. But going into it, obviously Master Splinter is injured, and so at first it was like, okay, Raph and Casey, that makes perfect sense. They're gonna go out, they're gonna make sure Leo's good, and then that'll end up being how it happens. But Leo's like, hey, stand down, I'm good, I took him out. And so with the rage that he has within him, Raph decided, I'm just gonna go fight him. And it was just a crazy idea, and it's Raph. That's actually what he did. I mean, I can't probably every single thing I've seen. What the F was that? I don't know if you guys can hear that, like something just insanely loud outside. But it seemed like every single thing with Raph that I've experienced, that's just what he does. There's some like insane moment, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. I gotta take these people out. They just pissed me off. They almost killed my dad. They attacked my brothers. They attacked me. Family, honor, all that stuff, and then just Raphael in his rage. And he takes out a buttload of people. It was super badass. Like, you gotta admit, it was an insanely cool way to go out. Like, he was just taking people out left and right. There's blood all over the place. Like, he had just, like, he stepped through somebody. There was a moment when he was, like, coming at Karai. And it's just like, you sent these goons to attack us before and you failed. And he's just wiping people out. I mean, he's getting stabbed. He's got, like, arrows in him. He's got, like, a sword in the side by the time he's getting to the end of the battle. And I'm like, he's just rolling through these people. It's amazing. Like, he's just, and it's crazy. It's bloody and stuff. So, which I'm not super used to because I don't really read the comics. I know that that's how they are, but it was just like actually seeing it. I'm like, dang, this is intense. Like, this is pretty crazy. So it's just nuts. Like, it's just so crazy. Like, just watching him go through it, and then eventually he does end up getting the Karai. And I was surprised that he was the reason that she was put into a coma. Mostly due to the fact that, considering he was so surrounded, I didn't think he would actually get that far. Like, I thought he would just take out a boatload of people, and they have like this scene where there's like 4 people with spears coming down. I thought that was when he was gonna die, and he still made it through that. So I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, oh, it was actually Raphael that put her into a coma, and then she's like out of the story after that. I would assume. I mean, he stabbed her in the back, like basically through her. He pierced her lung in the water, and so. And she stabbed him like right in the neck with his with the blade, and I was just like, dang. And so of course, he dies, and they have an amazing full panel with his sai in the blood. I was like, it's so great just to actually look at it though, and to know that she just like stabbed him in the neck. It's just crazy to actually see. But this shot, this page right here, that is so good. I don't know if they're gonna do that for all the characters, which I think they should. And I don't know how they would kind of implement. Like, it works. It's easy with Raph to be like, oh, it's it's kind of crimson, and to go with the red and the blood and the water. I don't know how you do that for every character, where somehow it's like a bit of blue and stuff. They could easily do like lights and stuff like that. So blue for Leo, and then purple letters. Something happens for Donatello, and I think for Casey they could do something where it's just completely white. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see with this last little drop here. It's just. I don't know. I don't know. But it was just it's a great issue. It's a fantastic second issue. It's just one of those weird things. Like, I think I mentioned in my last review, like, I love the Turtles and I love these stories because like every time they're in the future, it's always like tragic. Like, if you ever saw like the old TMNT show, it was just sad. I was like, everybody's dead. The even the 2003 series, like technically that's the series finale, which I kind of hated. I was super pissed that they did like the series finale. Everybody died on Earth. Like, it was just insanely tragic. I was like, this is depressing. So I'm hoping that that's not how this one ends, where like they just lose the battle. I'm hoping that it's like, it's sad, but they beat You know, they beat the Foot Clan and everything. And I'm still curious what's going to happen. We know Karai's going to wake up. So, like, there's just a lot of questions with that as well. And we have 3 more issues to go, so we'll see what happens. But, man, it was fun to read. It was a fun read. It was just like, dang, I want to see it, but I don't want to see. You know, like, it's watching your turtles die. Donatello being my favorite, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that one. I was a little emotional just reading this, and I was like, oh, like actually going through like kind of slowly and watching them die. I was just like, oh, this is like, you know, this is messing me up a little bit. I was listening to I was listening to the Turtles in Time soundtrack. I was like, I'm gonna listen to some Ninja Turtles. I switched shirts and everything. I was like, gotta be in turtle mode, but it was good. It was a really good second issue. I just don't know what to expect going forward. They mentioned an explosion. So that was pretty interesting. So that explosion, I would assume, I could be wrong, the explosion probably isn't what took out April's arm and leg. So I could be wrong about that. It could have been the explosion, and they just assumed she was dead because of the way she looked, so they just left her. They might not have cared with her technically not being a ninja. They're just like, whatever, she can't really do much by herself, and they could have just left her alive. You know, and even if they knew she was alive, they just left her like, man, it doesn't matter. So who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But some explosion did something. And it seemed like, based on the rubble, on that little glimpse of Leo and Casey with the katana and, you know, Casey's mask, it seemed like that could have been the apartment. That's definitely possible because, of course, with them trying to help out Master Splinter, once Raph leaves, it's definitely possible that they'd be like, okay, we can't really take the chance of leaving out because if Raph went to attack them, then they're definitely going to be, you know, searching for us on the street. So we have to stay here. And that could have just led to the bomb attack. Like, there's so many possibilities, so we don't really know yet. But I'm very excited for this next issue. It's going to suck to see Leo and Casey die, but I'm just excited for the story. I don't know if we'll get another, like, classic art style back, you know, the flashback thing for that one. Specifically because, you know, that was Michelangelo telling his flashback, so it was like, oh, let's do the classic black and white, you know, very manga style, and I loved it. So we probably won't get that again unless they surprise us and someone else is actually alive. Which I don't think they'll do, but they could. They could certainly do it where one of the turtles was captured, and they do, you know, it's been done before where like just all weird sorts of tech stuff has happened. Someone could be captured and utilized for something. Donatello would of course be the main one for that if he was left alive and he's been taken and like basically his brain is put into, you know, digitized. And then, you know, the Foot Clan are using him to make all those cyborgs and this and that. Totally possible. Like, it is not out of the realm of Ninja Turtles to do something crazy like that. So, ultimately, we just have to wait and see exactly what happens. If it really is just, you know, April, Mikey, and then Casey. And, of course, you know, I'm sure we'll get introduced to some other characters in the underground. But, as of now, I'm excited. Once again, amazing cover. I don't know which one I like more. I mean, I just like the stillness of this one because it's just, like, that's just sick. Like, I love the calmness of it. But, you know, it's good. Like, you can't hate that. That's just amazing. Then, of course, we got the back here. So, I don't know if they'll change it. That would actually be cool. If each one was different. But I assume that it'll kind of be like this, where it'll still be, like, the black and the red aesthetic. But so far, this pretty much made me, like, after reading this one, I officially was like, you know what? I'm going to buy all 5 issues. And I never do this. I never do this for comics. But I'm going to buy all 5 issues. And when they come out with, like, the full hard book version where it's everything in one go, I'm going to buy it again. Like, already, I love it that much. Where I was just like, I want to buy all 5 issues. And when it's done and they're like, we're going to do, like, the complete set, just hardcover, I was like, I'm going to buy that too, just to have it. Because, like, it's just so entertaining. I don't know why. It just really gets me. Maybe it's because I know it's Eastman and Larry coming back. It's this weird post-apocalyptic thing, watching, you know, the different characters die off. Something about it, I was just like, man, this brings back, like, just, like, I don't know, I'm in, like, a really good Turtles mood, and I haven't been in that way in quite a minute, so I'm just super happy with this. I think this is a great second issue. I would love to know your thoughts. How'd you feel about the way Raph went out? I think, for one, it was true to his character, and 2, it was insanely badass. Like, he killed who knows how many foot ninja before getting to Karai and still basically killing her. If it wasn't for the fact that someone saved her, which was probably your son at the time, if it wasn't for the fact that someone else was there, she would have died. Like, Raph would have died, and he would have killed her too. So it's literally just, it happened to be because he fought her on her own turf that someone was right there to pluck her out of the water, because she would have been toast. And she's still in a coma. That's how much he messed her up. So it's like, even though he died, and that sucks, and it's tragic, It was Raph. And it was like the most badass way he possibly could have done it. A buttload of Foot Clan just destroyed. He just got weapons all in his back. And he still managed to get to her. And he still managed to basically kill her. And she just so happened to be saved. It's like, if there was ever a way to go out, that's the way to do it for Raph. Because it was insanely hardcore. So I loved it. It just sucks to see him go. But definitely a great second issue. Of course, like I said, would love to know what you guys thought about this one. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about this issue, your least favorite parts, theories going forward, hopes going forward. What do you think? How do the characters die? If you have any guesses, I would love to hear your theories on how you think each character might pass away. Do you think we'll see a character that is actually alive that they assumed was dead? I mean, heck, Mikey and April thought each other were dead, so they could easily do it. They could just be like, hey, somebody else happens to still be alive. I would assume it would only be Donnie, because if it was Master Splinter, you know, like I said, the whole tech thing, I'm just like, it's the easiest surprise thing that they could throw in. Like, Donnie was actually kept alive, and then his brain was digitized, and they kind of, you know, forced him to be a bad guy. Like, I could easily see it, because it's Turtle. They could totally make it happen. But I would love to know your theories, and just in general what you guys thought while going through this issue. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.